This happened in 2019, but still, it's in the back of my mind. I worked at a Chick-fil-A. That night I was supposed to close, but I left at like 8 p.m. Now I already know that I'm going to spend like 30 to 45 minutes driving around to my usual Pokemon stops. At 8 p.m. on a Wednesday, there are some cars on the roads, but not too many. It's a smaller town with a little police presence. Not much crime really happens here. I've done this before, and I know which spots to go to. I'm driving to the spots that I know I can reach from the inside of my car. I just got off work from standing and being busy all day. I wasn't about to go walking around when it was dark out already. The places that I know have little to no cars at them anyway. I pull into the parking lot by the high school field, spin the stops, and click on a few Pokemon. I got ready to pull on the residential street. I'm kind of just sitting at the stop sign for a bit. No cars behind me. I'm not really in a hurry either. Blinker, and then I turn left onto the street. I see two cars in front of me, an older white SUV and a sedan in front of that. They're about 4 blocks ahead. I notice that the SUV isn't really in its lane. It's driving in the middle of the road like it wants to pass the sedan. It definitely could have passed it. The road was really wide and there was no oncoming cars. I'm glancing down at my phone in the cup holder, trying not to go too fast. Kind of want walking points. And then I noticed the white SUV that was driving in the middle of the road is driving really slow on the shoulder of the road. Maybe they noticed me and wondering what I was doing. Maybe I'm weirding them out. I click my phone shut and I drive normally. I'm nearly behind the SUV now and it speeds up quickly. Takes a hard right turn onto a street. I see the SUV pull into a driveway. As I'm passing that side street, I see the SUV going in reverse and now it's backing out of the driveway. I'm behind the other sedan now at a 4-way stop. In my rearview mirror, the white SUV is turning back onto the street. It's now going to be behind me. The sedan waits its turn at the 4-way stop, and then it turns left. I wait my turn and then I go straight. I'm watching to see if the white SUV goes straight too, and it does. The SUV had to wait its turn at the 4-way stop, so I'm a good 6 blocks ahead on this residential street. I want to lose this car, so I'm going like 30 miles per hour, when the speed limit is only about 20. I turn behind the church, a strip mall. The church has a playground behind it, but it's pretty much an alleyway. I lost the SUV. I stopped in the alley waiting, looking in my side mirror. And sure enough, the white SUV is barreling down the street. It almost passed me, it was going so fast. But it spots me and turns into the alley where I'm parked at, and it's coming towards my car. I'm freaking out at this point. This alley and street is pretty dark and there are no streetlights. The stores in the strip mall are abandoned, but the church is on the other side and it's well lit. So I want to go there. I speed down the alley and around the building. The SUV is doing the same thing. I turn around the building and I can't see them in my rear view. I stop my car and park in front of the well-lit church doors, basically parked in the fire lane. I'm watching my rearview mirror waiting for this car. I know that it's back there and that it's going to drive around me. They'll see that it was all just a big misunderstanding. The SUV is there. It peeks around the building corner. They stop and wait a little bit before it turns towards where I'm parked at. The SUV slowly drives by my car. They pass me slowly and I don't want to look at them. From my peripheral vision, I just see one outline in the driver's seat. As they pass me, I can feel this person's eyes on me and I can see their head turning. I'm uncomfortable, but I don't want to start a conversation with them, so I don't roll down my windows and I don't want to look at them. I don't even want to acknowledge them. I really just want them to see that I'm not who they probably thought I was. They pass me completely and the SUV starts to drive towards the exit of the parking lot. But then the SUV starts to circle around again, making a big loop around in the empty church parking lot. My body fills with dread. I'm actually scared now. I gave them the benefit of the doubt, but now they're coming back around. I don't want to know what they want anymore. When they start to circle back around, I take off out of that parking lot, but so do they. My car bottoms out and I speed down the street, but they're right behind me. The police station is way out near the countryside on outskirts of our town, but there's a police annex on this street. Sometimes there are cops parked out in front of it. I know that I'm just going to park there, and if they're still following me, I'll call 911. Yeah, this car is 100% following me. They've turned when I've turned, sped up when I've sped up, and as I turn my blinker to take a right into the annex, they turn left and they're gone. I told my friends and family about this quickly after. No one that I knew drove that kind of car. It was also an older model, so I don't think that it could have been a rental. I don't know anyone who would do this to me and think that it was funny. I did make a police report but didn't get a license plate, so they couldn't really do anything. I also know what kind of car it was. I would notice any older white SUV for months after, but I never saw the exact same car again. This story is from 2019. I was 13 at the time, but I still remember it like it was yesterday. Due to the trauma, well, maybe. I was bored at home alone and I FaceTimed my best friend, who lives in the apartment building next to mine, and I asked him if he would like to join me on a walk around the neighborhood. Well, he wasn't there. He was on his way back home from school, which is understandable, because it was a Thursday afternoon. There's a jogging circuit near my house and it's like 500 meters away. Well, due to my massive boredom, I put on my sport clothes, a basic t-shirt, a short that has no pockets, remember this detail. I then was headed with my music, vibing to the circuit. Arriving there, it was surprisingly not that empty, around 8 to 10 people in that 15-kilometer circuit. I started walking for a bit, and then I ran for a couple kilo, and then laid down on the grass. I noticed 2 guys on a motorcycle going back and forth. I didn't care that much since I was FaceTiming my 2 best friends. It was getting pretty late and it was around 6 p.m. and I was exhausted. I walked home but took another path that is kind of a shortcut. I had to walk through an empty big street with buildings that were in construction. I had taken that same path many times before with no issue. I had a feeling that someone was watching me and following me. I turned around and noticed the same 2 guys on that motorcycle heading towards me. I whispered to my friends on FaceTime that something weird was going to happen, and that they have to cut their mics and focus with me. The guys came by and one of them asked me where the nearest barbershop was. Out of stress, I gave them a random location. While the rider of the bike asked me about the barbershop, my right eye twitched and unfocused. I do have this ability, but I was still able to see with it. I saw in the bike's rearview mirror that the other guy was trying to look at where my phone was located. It was between my short and my belly because I had no pockets and I had my headphones in. I was freaking out. Time was starting to slow down. Seconds felt like hours and I couldn't feel my legs anymore. They went on, but with a slow speed. It was like they were planning a backup plan. I had 3 options. 1. There is a taxi guy fixing his car. I could have went over to him and explained the situation, but my gut said, what if they noticed me and came back and maybe did what they had planned to do? 2. Stop a random car and hop in and explain the situation. My gut also said no. What if the car was locked? Plus the guys would have noticed that I knew what they were planning to do and came after me after the random car would go. And 3, this is what I chose. run in the opposite direction into the traffic, and take the path that I came by. I instinctively ran for a straight 5 minutes. I couldn't do it anymore, and I entered a field and started running again towards some slums. I looked back and saw the guys coming after me into the field, and one of them was shouting, "Just stop. We only want to know where the barbershop is." There's one thing about me, and it is that I always trust my gut, and it said, "No, run as quickly as you can, or you're gonna die today." And that's what I did. I ran between the slums and kept running until I arrived near my best friend's house, who was still on FaceTime with me. I told him to come downstairs right now, and I laid down in the parking lot. He came in and he was freaked out because he knew that something was happening, but he didn't know what since I hadn't given him any more information. My face had turned yellowish and I threw up. I couldn't feel my legs or my arms anymore. He walked me to my house and I laid down, and from that moment I didn't remember a thing. I just remember me waking up the following day with bruises on my legs due to me running into the field full of pikes. This whole story happened in the space of about 10 or 15 minutes. Now I take that same path again with no worries. Okay, so I'm not conventionally pretty or classically pretty either. I'm the Duffy in any friend group that I'm in. I never worried about being hit on, disrespected, or kidnapped. I never had to worry about my own safety when going out, as I was never the one anyone wanted to get to know or be around because I'm just so plain, and it's always me that has to be the lookout for my friends, male and female alike. Now, I like to go to a local bar almost daily. I don't drink alcohol there, I just get a normal Coke and wait for my ride home. It's my usual hangout spot after work, so I just sit and chill and mind my own business. Well, a few weeks ago, I had just gotten off of work and I was chilling at my usual spot and sipping on my drink while working on a new pendant that I was making. I had started wire wrapping crystals into jewelry. I didn't think anybody would try to talk to me since I knew I basically blended into the walls, even though the staff know me and pay me a slight attention and they're nice to me. But this weird guy that I had never seen before came over and sat at my table across from me. I was surprised and I looked up at him and struck up a small conversation that I can't even remember how I started, but he started to ask me a few questions about myself that I thought were normal and all flowed together, so I didn't think much of it. Again, I'm plain and I didn't think anyone would want to do anything to me. I had drank 3 glasses of soda by then and I had used the restroom, so I grabbed my phone and my purse and I went to the bathroom. I may not have been worried about getting taken, but I did worry about my identity, cash, and my contacts. I went back a few minutes later and went back to working, since none of my stuff had been touched. I called a waitress over and asked her for a new drink, and she nodded as it had always been ingrained in me that you never leave your drink unattended to, and if you do, have it remade or leave it to the bartender. As she was going to grab for my old drink, which only had a few sips taken out of it, the guy got a bit huffy at me, saying that I was being wasteful for just ordering a new drink. I looked at him with a raised eyebrow in confusion. I asked him why. Was it his business if I did? It was my money after all, and the refills were free. He then said that I was making it more work for the waitress for no reason. This annoyed me, and I told him again that it was my business and that if he didn't like it, then he could always leave. He then tried to wave the waitress off without letting her change my drink, but I had had enough of his nonsense and I told him flat out, "Then you drink it if you think it's such a waste." It seemed to have caught him off guard, and he looked at me shocked and then a bit angry before leaving. I then looked at the drink and handed it to the waitress and told her that something didn't feel right about the guy that I was talking to, and if she could tell the bartender to keep an eye on him and dump out my drink and just bring me water from then on. I left for home after being picked up shortly after. and found out the next day after work that he had been arrested for assault. I didn't find out until today what exactly had happened. Apparently, he had gotten into a fight with the bartender working that night. The bartender caught him putting something into a girl's drink when she wasn't looking, and he had stopped her from drinking it. The guy got mad and it started a whole fight. The cops were called and now he's awaiting trial. Apparently he is trying to see if he could get someone like me who always had her guard down for herself because my confidence was low. He thought that I would be an easy mark with just a little attention. But when I didn't just drink my drink when I came back, he had to try it on another girl. If he really was targeting me, I have to question his sanity and sobriety. Thank goodness for those old lessons about safety growing up. Thanks, Mom and Dad. I just need to get this off my chest. My fiancé, a 27-year-old male, and I'm a 23-year-old female. We're soon to be married and are remodeling an old family home. When we started working in the house about 2 or 3 months ago, my fiancé had bought a bunch of tools to use in the house to renovate. The house had been sitting with nobody in it for over a year. Keep in mind, the house is located in a fairly rural area. A few houses and trailers here and there, but not too much traffic. We have a rodent problem and have been setting traps to catch them. 3 weeks ago, my fiancé went to check the traps and we had a rat that was still alive. Long story short, he didn't want to take care of it, so he left. I got off work at 9 p.m. and went over to the house to take care of the rat. It was raining and my mom and brother had came with me. I went to the back door and it was wide open and water was blowing into the house, so I was pretty upset. I thought my fiancé had left the door open. I shut it and I finished my business there. I asked my fiancé why he left the door open and he claimed that he didn't. I called BS and I left it at that. It didn't occur to me that somebody had possibly made a quick getaway. Fast forward to today. My fiancé and I went to our house to throw a whole bunch of trash and stuff into the dumpster that we had rented. When we went inside, we immediately noticed that some things were missing. Drills, sanders, etc. We realized that they had been stolen. We call my mother-in-law and tell her about it, and she says to make a police report. What scares me so much about this is that everything began to click with the rat trap incident. Somebody had been scoping us out. I would go to our house by myself on many occasions and I always had the creeps and I felt watched. My little brother even remarked that he felt watched there and asked if we were sure that nobody was in there while we were gone. I noticed today when I was there alone that my dog was acting very nervous and suspicious. She wasn't running around and playing like she usually does, and didn't want me to go to the backyard or the wooded area. I'm glad that I trusted her in my gut feeling. I don't know if the thieves were still there, but I'm glad that I didn't find out. We are currently in the process of installing cameras. This had to have been somebody that lives near us and can monitor how often we are there. So, we did catch a car pulling in like it was scoping the place out. The people inside never got out, but they left. We asked a few of my fiancé's family members about it, and that was to our detriment. One of them went and spread the word that we have cameras, and somebody in the neighborhood who owned the vehicle that we caught on camera slipped up and said that they already knew things had been stolen, which to me is basically a confession because we hadn't told anybody about the robbery until the incident with the car we caught on camera. So now more people than necessary know, and we probably won't catch the person who did it. We still turn the footage into the police though, and maybe they can dig up some more background info.